Welcome to the Mastering Energy Medicine podcast. I'm Beth Manning, a psychic healer and medical intuitive, and this is the podcast to help you deeply connect to your body, mind, and soul so you can heal the root cause of pain, disease, and illness and connect with your inner wise woman to make more informed health choices and fall deeply in love with your body and with your life. Hello, my friends. Thank you so much for listening and welcome to another episode. I feel like I've been sneaking around all week trying to record this episode because we're having some contract work done and it's been incessant pounding all week long. And I figured that you guys probably didn't want to listen to that. So we finally have some peace and quiet now. And then it starts absolutely pouring rain and wind outside. So we're just going to make the best of the situation because I have something I'm really excited to share with you guys today. And that is to talk about emotions. And I know that's everyone's absolute favorite topic to talk about. I know for so many years, I avoided my emotions like the plague. It was something that I knew was causing a lot of the pain and stress in my body. But it was also something that I so actively avoided because I didn't fully understand emotions. And I think that's really what I want to help you guys with today in this podcast is to break down 3 of the biggest myths that I see people get really hung up with around processing their emotions. I've been seeing a lot of women lately who by talk are very spiritual. You know, they'll say, I'm so in touch with myself. I'm journaling. I'm doing these meditations. I'm, having these deep talks. And then we'll get to the point of needing to express an emotion because I'll see in the energy that this person wants to move forward, but there's this roadblock. There's this roadblock of anger that's unexpressed or grief or shame. And I see people, we tiptoe around things so much in our lives because we don't want to face something head on and really feel it. And I feel like emotions get a bad rap so often because of the fear that we've built up around expressing them and feeling them and the things that we've been taught our whole lives about, not being a crybaby or not making people feel uncomfortable. And this is really, really keeping us from healing. I would say the ability to start to tap into, work with, feel, express your emotions is one of the most important things that you can do to help your body to heal. Because emotions that are unexpressed are expressed in the physical body. So when things happen to us that are emotionally charged, which is everything, really is everything, when things happen and we sit on our emotions, we push them down, or we say to ourselves, like, don't cry now, don't cry now, don't cry now, this is inappropriate, or I'm stronger than this. We tell ourselves things almost at this like subconscious level because it's so ingrained in our culture, in our families, in our, even the medical community of, that the emotions are kind of a separate thing, but they're not separate. Because when we go through something in our life that has an emotional component, especially the heavier, more dense emotions. So I want you to think about, shame and grief and sadness. These are really dense emotions. If we were to construct them out of clay or, color them in, they would be very heavy, very hard to hold. And so when we deny ourselves the opportunity to fully express and feel these things, it's as if we're still carrying them around with us all the time. It's like somebody handed you a weight and said, here, put this in your pocket. And then another weight, here, put this in your pocket. And then with energy, over time, it expands. So that weight that was 5 pounds now becomes 10 pounds, 15 pounds, 20 pounds. And then we say, man, I'm so tired. I'm just exhausted. Man, I could just sleep all day. Or I'm so anxious. I don't understand why. Or I'm so worried. I just feel so heavy. Life just feels so heavy. And that's a profound observation because it is. It is. And a lot of this heaviness, I say this with love, but a lot of this heaviness we've created for ourselves because we have, we naturally as humans move away from pain, or we label something at the time as like, that wasn't that big of a deal. Oh, this happens to everyone. This is just part of being a human, or everyone goes through this in life, or, and people have it worse than I do. And we don't allow ourselves to actually feel into the things that bother us. Like I've heard recently, I've heard people talking about the state of the world. And, there's so much going on in the world. There's so much that we can't control right now, and just horrific things. And then the next word out of people's mouths is often, well, what do? We just be more grateful for what we have. And I think it's wonderful to have a gratitude practice and to be able to see the beauty and, the hope and the glimmers of light around us. But if something triggers you, if something stirs you, that's because what's happening is that emotion that you're holding inside of yourself is becoming charged at that moment. It's like it's waking up, it's coming to life, and it's saying, oh my gosh, I have an opportunity to come out. I want to come out. I want to be expressed. I don't want to be sitting anymore in this heaviness, in this block that energy has to flow around and messes up the energetic flow in the body, causes heaviness in the body to feel off. But oftentimes we bypass this feeling and it's like, well, I should just be happier. I should just be more grateful. Other people have it so much worse than I do. So what am I complaining about? What am I feeling so sad about? And we are all connected energetically in this beautiful web of the quantum field. And we're all meant to feel certain things, and we trigger each other's emotions all the time. And it's time to stop bypassing and pushing things down and just trying to replace it with a happy thought or more gratitude, and to really first stop and feel that emotion. Really feel what's happening in your body at that moment, because that is an invitation for a healing. And most of the invitations that we have for our healing don't happen in a 60-minute session. They happen in your life. They happen when you're in line at the grocery store, when you're talking to your mom on the phone, when your kids come home upset about something. These are opportunities to start to express our emotions and to start the healing process. So there's no opportune time necessarily. You can't necessarily schedule times to start to feel our emotions and work on this stuff. Life will spontaneously hand you chances. And I want to point out, I want to bring to mind 3 ways that I see people have kind of thought errors or limiting beliefs or myths around expressing emotions. And I believe, because I see it every day with my clients, when we run into one of these things, when one of these, when they want to bypass and go the other way, but we have this beautiful opportunity to work through some anger or jealousy or grief, whatever it is, that when we can just sit together for a few minutes and experience that emotion, so much stuff shifts for them, because we don't realize how many detours we take in our own mind, in our own life, to walk in the opposite direction of feeling what is asking to be felt. So let's talk about a few ways that I want you just to think about shifting some of these thoughts. So if any of these beliefs ring true to you, taking a little bit deeper look at them and really asking yourself, is this really true? Is there a better way for me to open up to feeling a little bit more? So we don't have to go from I never cry to I'm sobbing uncontrollably all day. I'm not asking you to do that. I would just love for you, when you hit one of those emotional roadblocks, when you feel yourself start to tear up, when you feel that anger in the pit of your stomach, when you feel that grief or sadness in your heart, I would love for you to be able to say, oh, I'm doing that thing again where I make this into a big deal, and how can I walk toward this and not away from it? Because that is so key in healing your physical body and your mental body, your emotional body. But emotions that are unexpressed become physical symptoms. And when I work with clients, we often, will start to trace things back. And there's often an emotion that's sitting there that's waiting to be felt so that we can start to shift things. And that once we remove that roadblock and actually remove that energetic block, it allows things to flow so much smoother, and it allows people to feel so much lighter and to experience relationships in a new way, their body in a new way. Because remember, pain, disease, illness, symptoms, that's all your body saying that something is off balance, that you're being asked to, accept yourself, believe in yourself, lean into your power. And a lot of times our symptoms will show us where we're not doing that, where we're hiding out, where we're playing small, where we are not truly expressing to other people what it is that we need. And oftentimes there's a big, scary, hairy emotion that is at the door there. But I really want to help you guys to see that emotions, while they seem big and scary, that they actually are not. And that they actually are this beautiful portal to pain relief, to really having the freedom and the life that you desire. Because once we don't fear an emotion anymore, you can really do anything. If you think about it, right? If you think about the things that you're not doing right now, it's likely because there's a fear, an emotion that's getting in the way. And I want you to think about that. If you were able to experience and feel and process any emotion, you could do anything, right? There's nothing that you couldn't do. The sky's the limit. So we put these brakes on ourselves, but we really don't have to. And I want you to think about this for a second. An emotion is just you feeling energy in your body. That's all it is. So when you feel joy, when you feel happiness, that has a certain vibration that you're feeling in your body. It feels light, it feels good. So grief, sorrow, shame, those emotions that are heavier, that have a slower vibration, those feel a certain way in your body, right? They don't feel as good as joy feels. But it's just a matter of experiencing it, of feeling it, of sitting with it, and understanding like, oh, this is a heavier vibration in my body. That's all it is. It's a heavier vibration. And we just process it the same way as experiencing joy, experiencing, happiness. It's all feeling different vibrations in your body. So one of the first things that I see that limits people is this belief that your emotions define you. So I was working with a client who I could sense that she had a ton of anger around her father. And every time she would talk about him, I could feel this anger. But she would not let herself experience it and really feel it. And so when I led her through working through this emotion, being with this emotion, and really just giving it a minute, the biggest fear that was coming up for her was, she was saying, my dad was an angry person. Like, he was an alcoholic. He was mean when he drank. He was reactive, like just sudden bouts of anger toward me and my family. And she said, I don't want to be like that. I don't, if I start to express my anger, who says that I'm not going to be like that? Like, I don't want to be an angry person. And I thought that this was so insightful, because I see that we do that. And we're so often as kids labeled by our behavior. And it has nothing to do with who we are. It has a lot to do with parents that are uncomfortable with their own emotions, don't have an emotional vocabulary, and are doing the best that they can with the tools that they have. They came from limited, unhealed parents, and on and on and on. And, everyone's doing the best that they can. And so when we started to separate this, that just because you're feeling something, just because you have a thought or an emotion, it doesn't mean it's true. It doesn't mean it's true. And it doesn't define who you are. So we can all feel emotions that it's like, why am I feeling that way? Like, I don't want to feel like betrayed, or, I don't want to feel this deep shame or resentment. But we have these emotions that we hold in our bodies from, times in our life when that emotion was so present, when that was the result of a trauma or an experience that we had. But it doesn't mean that defines who you are as a person. And as I worked with this client more and more, and she finally got to the point where she was able to really release her anger. And I feel like I have a superpower for helping clients, even the most buttoned up people, express their feelings and get and be able to feel into their body and feel into their emotions. And it looks a little bit differently for everyone. I don't think there's one formula that we follow. But for her, it was really helping her to feel safe to express her anger. Like that if she started to express her anger, she wasn't going to burn the world down. So having that safety is so important when we start to express our emotions, to know that, okay, I'm going to let this thing move through me, but it's not going to get stuck. It's not going to be me. Like we're going to be in the fire momentarily, and then it's going to move on through. And once she got to the other side, she was actually able to have some compassion for her dad and for his upbringing in a very harsh, like very, the emotions weren't really expressed in his household. And he had abuse in his childhood as well. And she was able to start to see that, there was more hurt underneath there, that it was, that there were other things going on. It wasn't just this anger that she had been holding on to for so long. So the second thing that I see that really holds people back from expressing their emotions is this belief that once you allow yourself to feel an emotion, so once you open that door, that the emotion will overtake you, that it will just become like so strong, and you'll be so weak in the face of this that it will just overtake you and overtake your life. I was recently working with someone where this was her belief. Like she said, I just, if I feel this resentment and frustration, like I'm not going to be able to get rid of it. I just know it. It's going to linger, and it's going to take over. Like it's going to color all the aspects of my life and my relationships. So it was almost like this dog that we let loose that, had no fence, and it was just going to go everywhere. And I see a lot of people getting, kind of hung up on this belief. And the thing is that I find that when people have this belief, it's often because they were raised with someone who everything was kind of always at a simmer, but it never truly like boiled. So, maybe it was somebody who kind of, held people in resentment a little bit, didn't ever fully express their feelings or their needs. It was like this low simmer of this emotion that was always there just below the surface. And it was like, okay, if we talk to mom the wrong way, like this is going to come out. So we have to tiptoe. And, I see this, it's like somebody is 1/3 expressing their emotion, but 2/3 keeping it just at that slow boil, that little simmer. So therefore it feels like you're always with this emotion, like you cannot fully get rid of it, like it's always there. So once we started to really lean into the resentment and lean into this feeling, it was so important for her. So often what I'll do, and this might help you as well, is have someone almost feel like they're filling up their entire body with that feeling. So kind of taking it and feeling like we're just like almost like under a microscope, like it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and we're allowing ourselves to really feel the intricacies of it. Because a lot of times there's something for us to learn within that emotion, right? Just like that client saw her dad as a real person, as somebody who was wounded himself. She was able to start having some compassion. She also uncovered that there was a level of hurt there that she had never really been able to see before because of this anger. So when we allow ourselves to really be with the emotion, and that's why I love doing this with, as a pair, helping to lead someone through it, because I can help direct them through the energy and direct that energy to leave the body, right? To see that, okay, what else is there? Oh, there it is. Okay, now we can really start to move it. Because sometimes we start to express an emotion and we stop. And it's like that fear comes up. And the good thing about doing this with partner is, you can help create that safety for somebody else to really fully feel held and experience that emotion. And similar thing, once this client expressed her frustration and her resentment, she was able to see the situation in a totally different light. Because often we're experiencing an emotion from our younger wounded self. So it's still that child who didn't get her needs met. And that's why this can feel so painful. It can really feel like we're carrying this stuff around with us for so long. So once we start to create the safety, the love, the support, and really fully express that emotion, because when we express it, that's really what emotions want. They just want a way out of our body. Like, this energy does not want to be stored there, because it's not our body's job to store these heavy emotions. Our body really tries to manage them, but eventually it's like the top blows off, as we're trying to push everything down, that lid cannot stay on any longer. And I think so many of us see emotions as not being expressed, but as reactions. That because healthy anger isn't expressed, which is, everyone has healthy anger that they need to express. I've yet to meet a client who doesn't. For myself, I express healthy anger all the time. And healthy anger is, expressing anger in a way that doesn't hurt somebody else. So beating a pillow, pulling a towel apart, yelling into a pillow, going out into the middle of the woods and yelling. That's all great ways of moving that anger through our bodies and getting rid of it. So that's what emotions want. They want to move. They don't want to be in your body. They need a way out. And when we start to lean into them, really fully lean into them, give them all of our attention, then that's when they start to dissipate. And I think that's, another myth is that we think that emotions last so long. And really, there's been a lot of studies of emotions. Candace Pert is a wonderful person to look into. She was a scientist, but also understood the energy of things. She found that emotions don't even last 90 seconds. When we really feel into them, they fizzle out so fast. So it's like, it's like somebody dressing up as a scary person, but, we take the mask off and it's like, oh, you're not so scary after all, right? So we need to just start taking the mask off of emotions and seeing that they're helping us with our healing process. They're helping us to heal our relationships, to heal the world around us, right? If something triggers you in the world, it's because there's some deeper wounding within yourself that's responding, that is asking to be healed. It's asking to be looked at. So if we want to start healing the world, it starts with ourselves. It starts with expressing these emotions. And the last thing about emotions that I think really gets people stuck is, and I want you to really think about this in yourself too. What do you say or think or feel in the minute that you hold an emotion in or push it down? I don't want to make someone uncomfortable. I don't want to be labeled a crybaby. I don't want to be seen as out of control, too much to handle. Look at these labels that, that come up when you're about ready to express an emotion or when you're holding it back. I know a big one for me was always like, I don't want to make someone else feel uncomfortable. Like if I start crying right now, I'm going to make this person uncomfortable. And guess what? That's on them. That's not on you, right? You get to have your reaction, your response, your moment, and how the other person responds is up to them, right? I mean, as long as we're not being violent or mean about things, right? Then that's on us. But if you're just having a true emotional response, I want you to lean into that discomfort. And I want you to start thinking about, well, what are the phrases that, that I'm labeling myself? How am I labeling myself when I'm not expressing an emotion? And then start to trace that back. Where did that come from? Where did that originate? Chances are it was, at school or with a family member, or, your parents said that to, try to keep you from crying or being loud or doing things that they didn't know how to manage at the time or were uncomfortable with because they were uncomfortable with their own emotions. And I want you to think about if you really want that to limit you. Like, how can you rewrite that story? Because I thoroughly believe that the more people who start expressing their emotions in our world, the more the world will heal. The more we'll heal ourselves. I heard a quote recently that the state of the world is reflected by our comfort with emotions, by our own emotional intelligence. That our government reflects our own level of emotional maturity, essentially. I'm not great with quotes, but that was the essence of the quote. And I thought that was so brilliant because this is an invitation for us as individuals to do our own healing. And this is probably a whole other podcast episode, but I just want you to think about that for a minute. The next time something is happening in the world, how can you express that feeling in your own emotions? How can you do some of the healing in yourself that will therefore shift that quantum field that everyone is experiencing? And getting comfortable with your emotions, having an emotional vocabulary. Like if you want to start having a richer experience in your life, just Google the emotion wheel and start looking at the different emotions that are available to us. And start, adding them into your life in terms of, I feel this, or this experience made me feel this way. And just building that emotional vocabulary will really start to help you when you want to pinpoint how you're feeling. And I just invite you to continue to explore these things and to sit with them and to give them the space and start to feel into them and give yourself time. This isn't something that we learn overnight. It's something that we walk toward step by step by step until at one point we turn back and we say, oh my God, I really expressed that. I really felt that. I really let my feelings be known. And wow, this really shifted in my body and in my life. So some food for thought for you. If, as always, you would like to go deeper with this stuff, this is exactly what we do in sessions together. I typically will have people in healing programs. It's the way I love to work. A few months of healing together, really going deep, exploring emotions, moving energy, really understanding the root cause of what's causing the pain, the symptoms, whatever you're feeling in your body, and going deep to shift the energy around those things. That's what a healing program is all about. And if you are interested in learning more or would like to see if this is a good fit, ask me some questions, get a little bit of channeling and understanding around what's going on in your body and your path to health, I offer a connection call to do this. And it's a $97 call. It's a half hour. And we really just get together, talk. I understand, where you're coming from, what's going on, some deeper insights. And it's really just a no pressure way to connect and to see if a program might be a good fit for you, or there might be something else that's a good fit for you. So if this speaks to you, I invite you to reach out. And I would love for you to share this podcast with your friends, rate it, review it. That's how other people get to see it and experience it. And it's really my goal, my purpose in this lifetime is to help people see healing in a different light and to really see the power that they hold inside of themselves as you start to heal, and that it can be this beautiful, life-changing process. So thank you so much for listening to the podcast today, and I will catch you next time on the Mastering Energy Medicine podcast.